Well, I'm like Alia. I'm also a member of UK authors. I don't need that. I've got a big voice. It's all right, David. I don't need that. And usually I just write poetry, but I do occasionally write a story, and this is a story that I wrote for my grandson. Just this year, an old man and his wife went to the island of Sicily near Italy for their holiday. This is an island that is full of ancient Greek and Roman ruins, but it is most famous for its volcano, Mount Etna. The volcano is so big and tall that it can be seen from all over Sicily, especially as there is always smoke rising from the top. It is an active volcano and is always sending out ash and lava from its crater. In fact, it erupted recently just 5 years ago and is expected to erupt again soon. During their holiday, they went on a trip up the top of the volcano. The old man saw a nice piece of reddish lava lying on the ground near the crater of Mount Etna and decided it would be a nice souvenir for his and picked it up. He took it back to the hotel, packed it in his luggage and flew back home in an aeroplane to England with it. When he got home to Kenton Lane in Newcastle upon Tyne, he put it on the fireplace with all the rest of the stones and rocks that he had collected from various parts of the world were. The man has a grandson called Bran, who lives in Liverpool. To his grandson, he is called Granda Dave, to distinguish him from his other granddad, Brian. At October half-term, his grandson Bran comes to visit Granda Dave and his wife, Granny Edwards, with his mum and dad. The weather gets cold in late October, so Granda Dave decided to light the wood fire in the fireplace. The fire got very hot because he had a lot of wood to burn from the dead tree that was recently cut down outside his house. All the stone and rock collection got very hot. When they all went to bed, Granda Dave left a big pile of embers from the fire burning all night in the hearth, safely behind the fireguard. The next morning, when Bran, the grandson, got up, he heard some strange scratching and squeaking noises coming from the still warm embers and lava. To his astonishment, he saw tiny little lizard-like animals crawling around all over the hot embers. He rushed off upstairs to tell Granda Dave. Granda Dave came downstairs to see what all the fuss was about. He peered at the little animals and tried to squash one with his finger, but the little lizards were very strong, as if they were made of iron and lava. And when he tried to kill one, it bit his finger, a bit like a wasp stinging you. And he saw a little spurt of red come out of his mouth, which gave him a small burn. When he got close, he could hear what seemed to be some very high-pitched talking in Italian. "Bran!" he cried. "They're baby dragons! They must have hatched out of eggs that were in the little holes in the lava." The dragons all started shivering, and eventually Granda Dave realised they were cold, so he put some more wood on the fire to get it going again. He could see the dragons were hungry and eating because they were gathered round the bits of charcoal fallen from the fire and munching away. He had some bits of sea coal on the mantelpiece he had found on the beach at Blythe. He decided to see if the little dragons liked sea coal. When he gave them a small piece, they went berserk for it. Granda Dave decided to keep the fire going all day and night and bought a few bags of coal, even though he lived in a smokeless zone and it is illegal to burn coal in Kenton Lane. In case the dragons got away, he fitted the wire fire guard closely around the fireplace so they could not get out. He finally realised that these Stragoni Sicilian dragons are speaking Italian and invited his friend Carol Shepherd, who is an Italian teacher, to come round and listen to them. She had great difficulty understanding them because they were squeaking at such a high pitch and because they were speaking a medieval form of Italian which is only spoken in Sicily. However, she could hear that they were very grateful to Granda Dave for what he had done for them. She could also hear that that they were beginning to try out their wings and were looking forward to being able to fly. They had plans to fly up the chimney, and this really alarmed Grandad Dave, as it is now winter in England and much colder than in Sicily, and in any case he did not know if they would be able to find their way back down the chimney. He used the fire guard and some chicken wire to make a cage for the baby dragons and to block any exit up the chimney. Every day, Grandad Dave and Bran fed the dragons on sea coal and watched them growing quickly and trying out their wings. Carol explained to them that they could fly around the room for exercise as long as they got back inside their cage when the fire died down at night. Grandad Dave and Bran and the baby dragons had great fun. Carol taught them how to speak Sicilian Italian so that they could talk to the baby dragons. One evening, Grandad Dave and Bran made up a big coal fire to warm up the room for the dragons' exercise. Before they opened up the cage for the dragons to fly out into the room, they heard the sound of a fire engine siren outside. They rushed to the front door to see what it was, what was happening, and to their horror, they saw the fire engine stop outside Grandad Dave and Ganny Edwards' house. When they looked up, they could see flames coming out of the chimney pot on the roof of the house. They had set the chimney on fire. The firemen operated their big turntable ladder, and a fireman climbed up to the top of it with a fire hose. When it reached the top of the chimney stack, he turned on the hose and squirted water down the chimney. The fire was soon put out, but the poor dragons down below were all nearly drowned and so cold that they could no longer fly or walk or talk. Meanwhile, a police siren was heard outside, and the police came in to arrest Grandad Dave for burning coal in a smokeless zone. As they were taking him away down to the police station, Grandad Dave shouted to Ganny Edwards, "Save the dragons! Save the dragons! Don't let them get cold and die!" Ganny Edwards knew just what to do. "Come on, Bran," she cried, "get the hot water bottles from the beds and I'll put the kettle on, and find a nice warm box to put them in." Soon, all the dragons were fast asleep inside the warm airing cupboard in a big cardboard box lined with old pillows and 3 hot water bottles underneath the pillows. Poor Grandad Dave was finally let out of prison after going to court. He was poor because the magistrates fined him a lot of money for burning coal in a smokeless zone. However, all's well that ends well, because Grandad Dave and Bran discovered that the baby dragons like smokeless fuel bought from the supermarket just as much as they like sea coal. There we are.